Hello, and welcome to today's episode of we're drinking a lot of tea today, where we take things from a big scale to a smaller scale for the DIYers at home, for people who just want to build or start a business or take over your husband's shop, or you just want something to do to get away from, I don't know, life, I guess. This is the place for you. During every single transition period in my career, one thing that I have instilled in me is that drive, the drive to hustle, however that may look. When I was discovering welding and going from being a tow truck driver to a firefighter, I know it's a whole long story. I was a waitress, tow truck driver, firefighter. And then I left the department and decided to pursue welding full time. And weirdly, fire extinguishers have put me in a place where I actually got discovered because of these. These fire extinguishers is how Netflix found me. No matter where I'm at in my career, if I need to make some money, fire extinguishers have always been my go-to or fall back on. And since I'm retiring from the fire extinguisher game, I figured it was time to give y'all a tutorial on how to make them. That way you can make them for your local firefighters or departments or people that just love fire or putting out fires or starting fires. I don't know. This right here is the craft for you. So I hope you take this and you turn it into something even more than I ever could have dreamed of. I'll give you some examples here of some that I've done over the years, very, very early on to the very first one I made, which started this whole chain reaction of events. And before I knew it, I was making fire extinguishers and selling them and shipping them all over the world. Just recently in 2024 into 2025, I decided to retire from making these. Now I'm gonna give you how I made them so you can make them for yourself. Let's go take a stroll through Scrap Alley to try to find a fire extinguisher. I'm not gonna go huge, but you can use any size fire extinguisher for this, and we'll talk about the chemicals and all that stuff in just a minute. So let's go get that. The sun is shining today, finally. It's been raining so much in Tennessee, but like I said, you'll never hear me complain, because I love the rain. I once lived in hell on earth that never rained. Never complain about it, but I'll also never complain about the sunshine. Now, these are some that I already have empty, and this is going to be very, very important when you're working with fire extinguishers. Is number one, you need to find some condemned ones, which is ones that are out of service. You usually can find these at your local fire extinguisher place, and you'll have to have them empty the chemical, because you can't just spray this chemical into the sky. I'm pretty sure it's illegal, I don't know, but you want to protect the environment by not getting this chemical in the air unless you are obviously putting out a fire. But most of these condemned fire extinguishers are not charged, so you can hit this and nothing happens. Use your free will and say, hey, do you have any empty fire extinguishers that you're gonna scrap out that I can take off you? Most of the time they'll just give them to you. This right here was such a great business starter for me, because I got the fire extinguisher for free and then I sold them after I cut them. So your overhead is nothing and you're making 100% profit off these. So if you are starting a welding business, these right here are great. And firefighters will buy anything with a Maltese cross. True story. I'm kind of thinking I just want a small one, because I'm not going to do anything with this except for put it in my garden with the rest of my crafts from season 1 and this season. I like this one. And it is empty, so we're going to go take it inside. The cool thing about this craft too is we are recycling. So you can cut these in half and turn them into planters or garden edges or whatever your heart desires. You just gotta be a little creative. Okay, now I'm gonna to give you a lot of information here, and this is important because if you are going to start making these fire extinguishers, you have to understand how dangerous the chemical can be. And if you don't understand that, you really could mess up your lungs, your eyes, your skin. You could really hurt yourself. So it's important that you understand the difference between each chemical and each can, what it holds, the pressure it holds. That's very, very, very important. So make sure you do your research and educate yourself on fire extinguishers, the chemicals, and how they function and work. I had a class in the Fire Academy, which is how I initially started making these things. In that class, we were breaking them down, talking about the components and how everything works in these. And the entire time, I did not care what they were saying. I just wanted to know what these were made out of and can I use my plasma cutter on it, which is kind of how all this stuff birthed. I either use water cans, which are your silver fire extinguishers, or your basic ABC fire extinguisher, which are red cans. Now, some of these red cans are purple K, I think it's purple K chemical, so be very, very careful about that kind of stuff. Like I said, educate yourself on fire extinguisher chemical so that way you can protect yourself and the environment. And I'm gonna say this one more time. Do not just discharge fire extinguishers in the air or in the environment. It is very harmful. So when you are getting fire extinguishers from a fire extinguisher expert, have them dump the chemical for you. And if they don't want to dump the chemical for you, go somewhere else. Just don't even take the chance. Don't get yourself in trouble. With this craft, we are going to stay true to the theme of plasma and continue using the Powermax 33 XP, which is right here. And it will be back down on the ground for this craft, just so that way I can have the table clean and clear and I have a good working space. For this right here, I am going to use the max capacity on this at 33 amps because this is pretty thick and we're gonna be starting with cutting through the bottom, and the bottom is pretty much 3/16 plate compared to the rest. So we're gonna need this thing on a higher power. Also for this, we're gonna need PPE, and for this craft, of course, a hood, a welding jacket, and when it comes to fire extinguishers, I always opt for a thicker glove, and you will see me use 2 on this craft because I typically burn one glove up more than the other, and then I always have like opposites of each other. So we're gonna use some of those opposites today so I can catch up on gloves. And you wanna use a thicker glove because this craft does get a little hotter than the others and you wanna protect your hands. I know this sounds crazy, but we have 2 flathead screwdrivers. One of them is messed up because when we start cutting on this, I like to put screwdrivers in my welding table so that way it won't roll off the table one way or another, but trust me, it works. Can't hate on it if it works. And then a pair of dikes, of course, because you want to remove this plastic piece right here because it will melt. All right. And you want to remove the top. And like I said, these are already emptied fire cans. We don't need to do any cleaning here. But this is basically what the inside of a fire extinguisher looks like. We want to save this because we're going to put it right back on to continue to make it look like a fire extinguisher. That's the whole point, right? So you don't want to get rid of this. Make sure you keep it. When you are a scrap metal artist or dealing with scrap metal or free materials, you have to be aware of what is on the outside. And fire extinguishers, like I said, the chemical is dangerous, but also the paint on the outside can be dangerous. So make sure you're using proper ventilation and extractors and whatever you need to do, or cut them outside, that kind of thing. So with this, we are gonna clean the bottom because we want this to arc, dirt. Now, let's put on our PPE. I'm gonna tuck my hair away behind my jacket so that way it doesn't catch on fire. I am obsessed with this welding helmet from Lincoln. I've been slowly coloring it in As you can tell, it's pretty awesome. Okay, gloves. The only way to start cutting the side is you really need to cut out the bottom. So we're gonna start with cutting out the bottom. And how I do that is you can either start from the side and work your way around, or you can pierce in the middle, bring down, and then start in the middle. I try to get as close to the edge as possible, but if you go at an angle, you'll blow through the side of the fire extinguisher up here up front. So make sure you're going straight in, straight in, straight. No crooksies, you know? So straight in and cut the bottom out. So let's go ahead and do that. You are gonna have to ground directly to the fire extinguisher, and it might take a minute for it to catch an arc because metal is science. And I know this sounds crazy, but a lot of these fire extinguishers have been out in the heat, and when metal gets hot, it has pores that expand, and whenever it gets cold, those pores close. And some of the chemical gets like kind of embedded into the metal, and the chemical is to help prevent fires. So you know what that does? It prevents it from arcing, which is fire. So you gotta kind of finagle it and take your time and getting it to cut. Or if you wanna strip down all of the paint, pour some sort of acid in the middle, or I don't know, too much work. And we ain't got time for that. So we just gonna blow right through this. All right, here we go. Oh, this is why we have, you see, now it won't move. Okay, now let's cut through the bottom. Now what I'm doing is I'm just following along the bottom of the fire extinguisher really nice. And we're gonna rotate it, move our ground, and continue. This is the bottom of a fire extinguisher. This is what it will look like, because everything that you cut into the fire extinguisher obviously needs a place to go. Oh, hot. See? A lot hotter, because all that heat just goes directly into the fire extinguisher and stays. But that is how you get your can open. Now, for this craft, you can draw whatever you want on here. Whether it's a Maltese cross, the fire department number, or I replicate their fire department patch, which is kind of how the skill of freehand plasma cutting started for me. I was getting so many fire extinguisher orders that I couldn't just keep drawing everything out. So I would set my phone up and just basically copy and paste with my brain the department patch or their logo into the fire extinguisher. Feel free to draw it on. There ain't no shame or blame in that, and don't let anybody make you feel bad for doing that. So that's how it starts. That's how you do it. You gotta start somewhere. And this right here is me starting somewhere, which is a chain reaction of me driving a tow truck, to being a firefighter, to taking a fire extinguisher class, to making these fire extinguishers, to Netflix finding me because of these fire extinguishers, and now I'm here, teaching you, giving you all my secrets. You're welcome. Okay, so I think with this one, I want to do a heart. I think that's what I want to do. It could be anything you want. But today, since this one is for me, I'm going to do a heart. And this will probably be the last fire extinguisher I ever make. Kind of sad. Should I draw it on? No. We're just gonna go right in. Now, I do like to keep a lot of the original stickers and stuff on them because I want them to continue to look like a fire extinguisher. So I put that big, nice sticker right here facing backwards. So that way, whatever I cut into it, it'll be centered right here. And I think I'm gonna start with a small heart on the inside and then build a bigger heart on the outside. But I'm gonna show you a really cool thing you can do with these as well with a flathead screwdriver that will level up the playing field for your fire extinguisher. But first, let's cut a heart. We're just gonna go right in forward. Hearts are my favorite thing to cut. Why? Actually, if you look in all my work, I have hidden hearts and everything. So. Okay, there is a little small heart. Now we're gonna do, oh, look, there it is. Little tiny heart. Now we're gonna do a big heart around it, and I'm gonna bend that heart out. Okay. Get all that smoke out of it. Whew. That's pretty cool. As you can see, I cut a heart in the middle with a bunch of other hearts. And now I'm gonna show you what you can do with these to make them more a two-dimensional product versus it just being this tube. This fire extinguisher is hot, so I'm actually gonna go cool it off in some water real quick. Okay, we got this all cooled off. Now let me show you what we can do with it. Let's take this PPE off first though. It's hot. We're going to open these like hearts up so that way it gives like a really nice two-dimensional feel. Now when you do this, most people should wear gloves, but don't do as I do. Okay, so we're gonna stick the screwdriver up underneath and bend this heart out. We're gonna do the same thing for this one. See how I'm bending this out away from the fire extinguisher to give it a two-dimensional look. This is what you would do with like a Maltese cross. So you would cut the cross in and then pull out these two side layers so it gives like an actual like badge feel in the fire extinguisher space. But I want to keep going, so I'm going to also bend this one out and leave that one. I think I want to bend this out a little more. Do you see? Now it is in like a two-dimensional format. I have always wanted to do this. It's funny that this will be the last fire extinguisher I make, and I just now finally did what I wanted to do. After you're here and dirty, let me go get a rag. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, make it look better. It's all wet from being too hot. I had to stick it in the water. And then of course you wanna kind of wipe it down on the inside. Sometimes I'll like grind all this stuff off and paint them. I have a turquoise one that looks so sick that I painted for a client. Now let's get the cap. I'm gonna clean this off as well. I wanna get all that fire extinguisher chemical off of it. Now, cool thing with this too is you can also put a light in the bottom of it and give it some depth. I'm usually not an advocate by any means of putting lights inside my artwork unless it's a hanging light that's gonna hang in a restaurant or an industrial space. But the fire extinguishers really do have a cool look when they're cut with a light in them. I do put everything facing back forward, so you'll see all the nozzles and all the gauges and everything going forward, and I kind of just tuck that in so that way it stays, and voila. It's that simple, folks. Very, very easy. Anybody can do this. Little creativity goes a long way. So let's go put this in the garden and let life and grass and plants grow all into it and let it become a permanent piece here as the last fire extinguisher I will ever make. Kind of sad. That's okay. I hope y'all take it and run with it and make a million more. So let's go put this in the garden. Sunshine. It's about time to go to the lake. Number one, had I not started waitressing at that restaurant where a customer came in who drove a tow truck complaining about work, and I said, can I get a job there, and got a job driving a tow truck, ultimately led me to work in a crash that made me decide to cross over into the fire department. And had I not taken that fire extinguisher class in the fire academy, I would have never started doing these. And had I not started doing these, I wouldn't have really took a chance and started a welding business on my days off from the fire department, which these got me discovered by Netflix. So every single time that I was changing jobs or careers or purpose or what I thought my purpose was, every single time I thought I was failing. And within that, if you really put it into perspective, every single thing I left to move to the next, that I left to go to the next, I thought I was failing at every single one of those things, which led me here. So really, are those failures or just simple redirections into the life that you're supposed to have? So let this be your sign to try something new, try all the things until something works. And this right here, this fire extinguisher, these fire extinguishers gave me a space that when I was at my low in my business, they always helped me make money. So find what you love and learn how to make money at it. But also an inventoried product that's customizable can help bring in regular income for your family, which it did for me. So with that being said, we're gonna put this somewhere in the garden, probably right here next to the Christmas tree, and we'll just let plants and stuff grow into it. Second thing with these is I always cut hidden hearts in everything that I do. Why? Because these hearts right here, you just give them to people you love. Here you go. So if this is not your sign to start something new, you never know what it'll blossom into. Kind of like these fire extinguishers did for me. So get out, recycle, reuse, and build some shit.